If we find ourselves in circumstances where our anger is greatly aroused, when we are enraged by people's behaviors, where we we want to inflict immediate punishment on them without any mercy, let us look at two stories in the Bible to see if there's something more hidden underneath those reactions of rage, of anger, underneath that kind of behavior. Now, the first story is about David, who saw this woman while he was at night on the roof of his house. He took her to himself, he had sexual intercourse with her, and then he had her husband killed in battle because she was a married woman in order to have her to himself. So he committed adultery, and then he killed the husband, and then took the woman to himself. Then the word of the Lord came to Nathan. So the Lord sent Nathan, the prophet, to David. And he came to him and said to him, David, there were two men in one city, one rich and one poor. The rich man had exceedingly many flocks and herds. But the poor man had nothing except one little ewe lamb which he had bought and nourished. They grew up together, it grew up with him and his children, it ate of his own food, drank from his own cup, and lay in his bosom. And it was like a daughter to him. And a traveler came to the rich man, who refused to take of his own flock, of his own wealth, but instead he went to the poor man, took the one ewe, the one lamb he had, and prepared it as food for the man, for the traveler who had come to him. So David's anger was greatly aroused against the man. So David was infuriated against the man and said, as the Lord lives, the man who has done this shall surely die, and he shall restore 4 times for the land, because he has done this thing and because he had no pity. Then Nathan said to David, you are the man. And suddenly David's eyes were open, and he fell on his face and said, I have sinned against the Lord. So it was David who did the wickedness. He committed adultery. He instigated the murder, the killing of the woman's husband, took the wife to himself, and then his own anger was greatly aroused against the man. He didn't know it was him. And he said, immediately put him to death, restore fourfold, because he had no pity. And Nathan says, that's you. And immediately the circumstances have shifted and says, well, I have sinned. And he started to entreat the Lord for mercy. Now there's another story in Genesis, when according to the laws of Israel, Judah, this person named Judah, he had to give his own son to his daughter-in-law Tamar as a husband and take her as a wife. However, he refused because he was afraid that his own son will die, and he did not do it. So he didn't follow through with the instructions of the law, of the teachings. Now, what happened was the woman veiled herself as a prostitute. He sat by the side of the road because he knew that Judah was passing by, and he tricked him into having sexual intercourse with him, and she fell pregnant. Now, as a token for payment, she took the staff, she took a few items from Judah because he was not able to pay her on the spot, and she took from him 3 items to hold until the payment would be made. Now then she disappeared and off she went. Now, 3 months later, it came to pass that it was told Judah that Tamar, this woman, had played the harlot, and she is with child by whoredom. And Judah immediately said, "Bring her forth, let her be burnt." That's the reaction. He heard the situation, instant judgment, let her be burnt. But when she was brought forth, she actually revealed that Judah himself was the father of the child. And then Judah said, "She has been more righteous than I, because I did not give my son as I should have been." So you see, in both cases, the person who is enraged, the person who wants to inflict instant and cruel punishment without mercy, let the man die, let her be burned to death. The very same person who has done the evil is the very same person that brings the judgment. It is written in the New Testament when Paul writes to the Romans. It says, "Do you who judge another, do you do the same things? Do you who rage against various sins, are you guilty before the Lord of the same sins?" The Lord Jesus Christ is instructing us not to look at other people. Do not look at the tiny speck in the other's eyes. Do not look at their faults, but rather look at yours, because yours could be much greater than the others. So, when you find yourself in a situation of being greatly enraged against another person, ask the question, is this something that I myself am doing? Hold your anger, hold your rage, because greater is he who possesses his own soul than he who takes a city. So possess your rage, possess your anger. Do not speak, do not act, and look truthfully within yourself and ask the question, is this something that I myself have done? Is this what the other person showing me? Is it actually something in me? Because in most cases, that which triggers rage in us because of seeing in other people, that which triggers anger in us, most likely it's something that we have done ourselves. It is not the anger of being hurt. So you can get hurt unjustly, and then you begin to get angry and say, "Why are you doing this to me? No, I've done nothing to deserve this," and so on. That's a different kind of anger, because that anger does not want the other person to be punished, to be judged, to be beaten, to inflict evil or harm upon them. That's anger because you are just hurt and you want it to stop. But there's a different anger when you are perceiving, most likely wrongly, behaviors around you, and that sin that is still in you, that sin that's still hidden in you, begins to manifest and begins to come out, and you attack the person. You want them to die, you want them to be burned, you want them to be judged, you want them to be punished, because rather than looking at yourself, you see that in others. So ask the question, is that what you're being enraged about? Is that what you're being angered about? Is it something that you yourself are doing? And if you are truly honest with yourself, just confess that to the Lord as sin, and He is faithful and just to take it away from you and to cleanse you of all unrighteousness.